Hi, welcome to my channel Mostly Knitting. If you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. And if you're new here, I'm Tash, and this is a podcast where I talk mostly about the knitting that I've been doing, and I also put out regular tutorials. So it's Thursday the 12th of June, and I'm recording from Sydney, Australia. So I have two finished objects to share today, one new work in progress and quite a lot of progress on my whips, some acquisitions, and then at the end just a little bit of personal stuff. But I thought I might actually start with what I'm wearing today. It's about sort of just after lunch here in Sydney, and I've already been at work as a high school teacher today, and I finished a little bit early. I had an early start and an early finish, and this is what I wore. So it's winter here, and it's about 5 degrees Celsius when I leave the house at the moment, so I definitely needed my woolies on. So this is the Monday sweater by Petite Knit, and I knitted out of Jagger Spun Heather in the colourway Blackberry and Rowan Kid Silk Haze in the colourway Black Currant. And I'll put down below in the description a video where I talked a little bit more about it, and I also talked a little bit about this sweater in comparison to Petite Knit's No Frills sweater as well, because I've knit both of them. So this has got a reasonably high neckline, which I quite like, and it's just nice and cozy. I won't go into it because I've talked about it before. I'm just wearing it with some navy pants, and I'll show you the I'll show you the top that I'm wearing underneath it, because it is warm enough in the classroom for me to be able to, I actually do get too hot if I have my sweater on. I quite like, even though this neckline is quite high on the Monday sweater, the ribbing is quite stretchy. So so I'm not going to get it kind of like pulling it off isn't hard, which is nice. So this is Alpine Bloom by Caitlin Hunter, and I think it goes really nicely with these navy pants. And this is in Madeleine Tosh Merino Light. The main colour is Nocturne, and the colourway, the sort of contrast, which is actually just one colour, is Peach Bellini, so both Tosh Merino Light. And yeah, I quite like that because you get a little bit of variety here but I'm not like changing balls or anything, it's just the one colour. So, and this, I did modify this pattern a little bit. It has sort of some lace at the neckline, and I think maybe even at the sleeves as well. And I just did a twisted rib, and I can't remember if it has short rows or not, but I definitely have short rows in it. And yeah, it's reasonably cropped, but just high enough for my pants. This Nocturne I think has a bit of green in it, and yeah, these pants just they're pretty fitted pants, but I feel like this top has enough room that doesn't feel like everything is super fitted. And I love these shoes. These are these studded kind of little can't remember where they're. I think the shop that they are from, I bought them years ago. Doesn't exist. Sandbag doesn't exist anymore, which is a bit of a shame. I used to get some really nice shoes from there. So this is what I wore today. I thought, just in keeping in May, I did every day what I was wearing, and I thought, oh well, you know what, I'll throw it in here as well. But yeah, let's move on to what I finished. My first finished object is the Adamson vest by Rui Yamamuro, and I knit it out of the recommended yarn, which is Woolfolk 2, and it used just over 2 balls. So this is most of a ball and a little bit more, but together it's just a little bit less than 1 ball. And I had 3. So it did use just over 2 balls. It's relatively cropped, but that is the design. I knit the smallest size, which is 34¼ inches, but my gauge was coming out bigger, so I dropped off some of the extra increases, but I think it has actually come out at around a 32-inch bust. I'll put it down below if that's different, but it does definitely taper in. Even though you've got these eyelets here, you've got more decreases than you do increases, so it definitely tapers in at the bottom. And it has a twisted rib here, fairly deep cuff, and I just did a normal in pattern bind off, so that's actually quite firm, not very elastic, but this here is actually much more elastic. Not really sure why that is, because I did them both. I knit the body on as recommended, a 4mm needle for the body, 3.5 for the ribbing. One thing that was I did find, I think last time I showed this, I'd done one sleeve and it was flaring. And I picked up around the recommended, just a little bit more than the recommended number of, I picked up what the recommended rate, and I got about 126 stitches. And then I was meant to have 120, so I just decreased down in the first row, but it was super flary. So I undid the 4 rows, and then I decreased down to 100 stitches. And so quite a bit more. And you can see that it's probably only just okay. I could have gone even more of a decrease than that. And yet the neck The neck one is probably a little bit, like I picked up the recommended rate there, and that one's okay, but it's probably a little bit big at the back, but I'm not changing it. This is really unpleasant yarn to unpick, and I can't say I particularly enjoyed working with it. There's nothing wrong with the yarn, it's nice and soft, but you know how sometimes you just don't really enjoy working with a yarn, and this was it for me. So this is the yarn. It has almost no elasticity whatsoever, so it's got sort of like a core and then all this fluff around it, but yeah, it's just, I guess it's a look I don't really love. Obviously it's got like, that's not the intent of the yarn, but it doesn't have much stitch definition. It isn't meant to, it's not that kind of yarn, which is totally fine, except that maybe I just no elasticity. I didn't really enjoy working with it, but I'm pretty happy with the finished outcome. I've just got it over this black like linen sundress that is sleeveless, and I think it actually kind of, this can turn this dress, because it is quite long, I can't see, but like the dress itself is quite long. It's sort of almost, I'm pretty short, I'm about 5'2", so it's almost ankle length on me, but this dress has sort of on the back, it's fairly backless. This dress is actually quite interesting. It's 100% linen, and it was like in a sample sale at the fabric store a few years ago, and I bought it for $25 Australian, which is like 18 US. I mean, I couldn't have even bought the fabric for that, let alone, and it's got like a zip up the side. Now, this is quite tight, so I might just take it off. I wouldn't mind showing you this dress, because what it does, I'll just show you the back, because it actually makes this quite wearable for work for me, because this dress is not really, see how I'm really going to struggle to get this off. I might almost have to redo the bind off, because it's super tight, and I can't really figure out why when the bind off here is okay, but the bind off here is like there's nothing there. So, but that's an unpleasant job undoing that. But I'll show you with this dress. It's like a really nice construction, and it's lovely. I wear it quite a lot outside of work, but for work, because you can see how the back's got this lovely strap on the back. I think it's really pretty. I can't believe I got this for like 25 Australian, but yeah, like that's just too much back showing for my work. So, but what it does do is with that vest, it actually turns it into something that I can wear for work. I'll finish off my finished objects. Anyway, I don't think I have anything more to say about that, except to say that I will wear it. I probably won't redo that bind off unless it breaks, which is quite possible because it's so inflexible it might actually break when I'm trying to put it on or off. Yeah, I think I may just do a little pause here. I think I might actually create for myself a window of time in the week for mending. I find that things that need mending, I've got a number of sewing things, like even some Ogden camis that I've made where the straps have come like apart from the cami itself. I need to fix that. I've got so many things. I've got Novelli that it's got one sleeve fixed and I have to fix the other. And I just don't get to it until it's the holidays or whatever. And then I've got like a big pile of it. Whereas I think if I set aside maybe an hour or two each week as my sort of mending, my just chill mending time. I'm not trying to achieve anything except to just sort of make it very intentional. And yeah, I find mending it's not the thing that I automatically go to, but I do find it sort of very satisfying and sort of fairly calming, yeah. So anyway, that's sort of another thing. Let's get on to my other finished object. This is the 2x2 hat by Anne Gagnon, and I forgot to weigh it. I'll put down below what it weighs. This is, I've made this many times before. I made this out of Madeleine Tosh DK Twist in the colourway Rainwater. It uses less than one ball. I have a fair bit left, and it's just, this is such a it's just a lovely yarn. I did actually did a tutorial on doing the tubular cast on with Judy's Magic Cast On, and then switching it to a 2x2, and I'm pretty happy with how that looks. And yeah, yes, my brother came to visit recently. I gave him one. I think it was in the colourway Kenobi, and he came to visit and he was wearing it because, you know, it's winter and it's cold, and he lives in Cooma, which is extremely cold, and it was so nice to see him wearing it and seeing, like, I think he, you know, is really appreciating it. So I don't think he wants another one that's almost exactly the same colour, but now I know that this is a really good hat pattern for him. I will make him some more, but maybe in some different colours. So yeah, definitely more 2x2 hats in the future. So they're my 2 finished objects for the week. Moving on to my works in progress, I have one new work in progress, and this is the Chrysler top by Pernille Larsen, and I'm knitting it out of Knitting for Olive Pure Silk in the colourway Blood Orange. It's this really lovely sort of reddy orange, sort of tomatoey orange. It's definitely an orange, but yeah, it's really beautiful. I've knit a lot with this colourway, my Elizabeth blouse recently and a poppy tee, quite a few things. Anyway, I'm really enjoying this colour at the moment. So I had started this, I'm knitting this the smallest size. I'd started size number 2 and I've gone down 1 needle size because I do find that my gauge stretches out a bit with the Knitting for Olive Pure Silk. So I'm knitting this on a 2.5mm needle, so quite small. And yeah, I ripped out, I'd only done a few rows, so I took that out and I cast on for this size 1 because I had a feeling it was going to be a little bit too big because it is quite stretchy. So this is a, it's not only a half twisted rib. A half twisted rib is where you twist the knits but leave the pearls as they are. You actually do that, but you do that every other row. I don't know that it actually has a name. So one row is knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, etc. And then the second row is knit 1 through the back loop, purl 1. So you're always purling the pearls, and every other row you're knitting through the back loop. So it does. It doesn't create quite as strong a twisted rib line. It just sort of looks a little bit more textured, I would say, rather than just a straight up rib. But yes, I've made a bit of progress on it. This is going to be a fairly sort of slow progress because I'm knitting this on when I'm walking on the treadmill. So I did buy a treadmill. That's a new acquisition that's non-yarn related, but it's definitely very handy. It's winter here in Sydney. It gets dark really early. I've wanted a treadmill for years and I finally got one. And I can watch podcasts on it as well, which is really awesome. So yeah, I'm getting even more walking in than usual. And this is what I'm knitting on there at the moment because it's obviously it's quite small and easy. I am being very careful though. I make sure that, if something drops, it hasn't yet, but if something drops, I'm just going to let it go and worry, broken yarn, whatever, doesn't matter. I'm not going to, I've got to be careful not to fall over or hurt myself. But yeah, really happy with how that's coming. My daughter Alex is going to make it as well. And we're actually chatting. She's got the day off today. She might cast on this afternoon. So yeah, that would be really nice to be knitting that together with her. I also plan to make the Milady's dress. I'm doing a knit along with Ailsa, although I think Ailsa's already started and I still haven't even started yet, but I have swatched. I've shown that in a previous podcast. It's black, right? It's just plain black. But I just knew I needed to have a little bit of headspace to make sure I cast on the correct number of stitches because I think you cast on here and then work up. So I needed to make sure I, 100% with my gauge, even though it can change a little bit. So I did quite a big swatch and I actually think I can do these 2 in tandem. I think I'll save this for the treadmill and the Milady's I'll do at other times, especially because it's black too. I'm going to need to, I wouldn't try to do that on the treadmill. I'll do that when I've got really good light or, my little Lumos light to be able to see better. But generally I do, if I'm knitting with black yarn, especially on such small needles, because I think I'll be using the same size needle, a 2.5. So anyway, but this is my new work in progress. Another work in progress I thought I may as well put on because it's a little bit cool here. So this is still a work in progress. You can see it's not finished. This is the Lyon sweater by Petite Knit, and I'm knitting it out of the recommended yarn, which is Sandnes Garn Sunday Held Double, and this is in the sample colours, Almond and Night Sky. Those two are really lovely together. And this has been a bit of a, just a bit of an interesting one because Petite Knit sells this pattern in a junior version and an adult version, and I'm usually like on the sort of cusp of either the largest junior size or the smallest adult size, and they do sort of vary, by a couple of inches. So I went for the junior pattern, largest size. The downside of that is I actually already did the neckline, and it's a fold over neckline, and I followed the junior pattern. And I even knew this when I was looking at the pictures. I was like, gee, the junior neckline looks substantially not as deep. The adult one looks deeper, shallower. This one looks like the junior one looks shallower than the adult one. And I thought I'd better pay attention to that when I get there. But of course, I was doing something else at the same time when I was doing this, and I didn't. I just followed the directions, and I was just like, we do the bit where you sort of bind off and sew it down at the same time. And I realized this is not deep enough. And I think it's one of the design features that I really like is the deeper neckline. So, I'm looking at the Petite knit pattern, trying to count the numbers, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to buy the pattern to make sure, the adult one, because I'll probably make this for, this is quite unisex. I could see making this for my son in just a plain colour, or my husband. So it'd be good to have the full complement of sizes. So I bought the adult pattern, and there are 3 more rows, both in the initial, and then you actually have, this is, I remember it was Michaela from Stitches in STEM was talking about doing these double knit rows where you only slip the knits and you purl the pearls, and you do that for 3 rows. And I was like, all that's going to do is stretch out those knits. So it's not, like, even though it's called double knitting, I sort of wonder if that is double knitting. Like, from what I understand double knitting to be, 1 row you knit the knits and slip the pearls, the next row you purl the pearls and slip the knits. Whereas in this situation, you, for 3 rows in a row, you slip the knits and you slip the pearls, and you slip the pearl every row for 3 rows, and you knit the knits. And now what that does is that sort of really stretches that, the one that keeps getting slipped for 3 rows, and then that's what actually forces it to roll over. So it is quite different to the technique, which is like in, I think maybe it's the Weekender hat, where you do a couple of rows of double knitting, where it is just, knit the knits, slip the pearls, purl the pearls, slip the knits. This is quite different. It's 3 rows of the same stitch gets slipped 3 rows in a row. The other one gets knit and it folds over on itself. Anyway, I had done all of that with the junior numbers and was actually tacking it down, and then went, no. And I almost kept going, and I was like, no, Natasha, that's not what you want. And I was like, yeah, maybe I'll change it later, and hence the whole mending thing, right? I usually don't go back. Like, I probably, it will take me a while to go back and just redo the bind off of that. And that's just a bind off. So I thought, no, you want the deeper ribbing. Undo it now. So I undid back past those 3, like past the extra rows, past the 3 rows where you're slipping every other stitch, back to here, and then did the 3 extra rows, then the slipped rows, then the extra rows, and then tacked it down. So it was a lot of back and forth. The other thing that was different, gosh, so many, and I guess it kind of makes sense for the proportions wise that this would be not as deep. The other thing that's different is in the junior pattern, you do 4 rows of the, 4 rows of the main colour, 3 rows of the contrast colour. I don't think I'm giving anything away here. You can actually look at the pattern and count them. You can see this. So 4 of the main, 3 of the contrast, whereas in the adult version, it's 4 of the main, 5 of the contrast. So just, creating the proportions a bit different. But of course, when I was going down the body and I'd done like 11 contrast colour stripes, I was looking at Petite Knit's version. I'm like, oh yeah, she's got 11. And I thought I was done. And then, because I owned both patterns, I was like, and I hadn't even bothered to count them. I just followed the junior version. So I guess that's one of the things, is even though I was doing the junior version, my proportions and what the look that I was going for was more the adult. So I just kind of wish that there was maybe there were a couple more bottom, so that there was an overlap, if that makes sense, so that it wasn't like, let's say up to 39 inches in the junior and then 41 inches up in the adult, that maybe there was a bit of an overlap so that you could pick if you were on the cusp. Anyway, I don't think Petite Knit is watching. What's her name again? Meta? I don't think she's watching. So I don't think that feedback's going to get back to her. But anyway, it would be nice. So what I have done, though, is I realised I did need to get to 14 rows. One nice thing about that is there's less carrying. Sorry if you're hearing the clinking. I've put the sleeves. I have been knitting the sleeves on just a small fixed circular, because I've got like 74 stitches or something, and so that just fits around a small fixed circular. Once I start decreasing, but I've just put it on to a long cable so I could try it on and show you. So I have finished the body and I haven't blocked it yet. So as you can see, like, look at all of that. That's clearly not blocked, but this, what will happen when that's blocked is that will come, and I think that will actually sit quite nicely. I don't think this is a drop shoulder, and even when I see it on Petite knit, it's more like a contiguous, I keep pulling it because it looks funny, a contiguous shoulder that mimics then a set-in sleeve, because it does have that look where you have this here where you're increasing only on the sleeves, the front comes straight down, and then you start increasing like a raglan where you're increasing out like that. And yeah, I'm like, it looks so crazy and all bunchy, but fingers crossed. I was going to actually block it before I showed you, and then I thought, you know what, why not show you unblocked? Then you sort of see it all lumpy, bumpy and crazy and looking all like weird and bizarre, and fingers crossed blocking does the trick. This is one where if it doesn't, I would actually even pin it. You know, like I normally don't pin sweaters, but if I really need this to come out and actually sit flat, I would maybe would actually pin that. Anyway, working down the I started by doing a regular, what do you call it? There's been a lot of back and forth in this pattern. I went to, because it's a 1x1 rib on the bottom, and I also decided, you know how sometimes I do my ribbing inside out? I decided actually I quite liked this one with the slightly larger knit stitches, which is what you get if you knit it normal, like not inside out. And so as a result, just because it feels like that sort of seems to match the more casual vibe of the sweater. So yeah, so this has been knit like that. But then I did go to do the tubular bind off because it's just a 1x1 rib. And I did the setup rows and I started doing the tubular bind off and I just didn't like it. I don't know, sorry, people are coming and going at the moment, so there might be a little bit of background noise. I'm holding the yarn double, and I've definitely done tubular bind offs with yarn double before, I'm pretty sure, but yeah, I just didn't like it. I think it looked really awful, and I'd done probably about that much. Now for me, when I do a tubular bind off, I put all of the knits on one needle and then all of the pearls on the other, because I enjoy doing it a bit more that way, rather than the machinations with the needle of a bit on here and a bit on there. I have a tutorial on that too. So, and I like that much better. But sorry if you can hear all that conversation in the background. I might just ask them to just keep it down just a little bit, or go into a room and talk rather than yelling across the hallway. I think they've stopped now actually. So I did everything, put all the knits on one row, all the pearls on another, like on one needle, all the pearls on another needle, did about that much, and then was like, I don't like how this looks. So then I had to undo all that, put everything back on the one needle, undo the 2 rows of the tubular, the double knitting, and then I actually undid one more row just because it was sort of hard to get back on the needles looking neat. Did another round, and then like all of that, and then bound off just in pattern. And I think that looks just fine. And I think that will block nicely. It's certainly got plenty of stretch. There's no issue with that. So it has been a lot of kind of like back and forthing. Yeah, and I'm trying to think, was there anything else I was going to say? I feel like there was something else. I wanted to mention as well. I mentioned last time that when I was doing these increases with the contiguous increases, because you're doing them every row, like on both the right and the wrong side, it gets quite tight. And I can't remember who it was, but if I can find it, I'll put your name down below because I want to say thank you. They suggested, and I think they found it from somewhere else, that every other round, when you do this increase, do a yarn over, and then on the row, because you're working back and forth, do it like a yarn over. And I've done this before with shawls. You do a yarn over, and then on the next row, when you come back, you drop the yarn over. And that just creates that little bit more slack in the yarn, a bit more space. You don't do this every row. I suppose you could if you really needed it, but I think just once every other row, like if you do it on the knit side, then on the purl side, drop it and make your increase. Just gives you that little bit of extra yarn to make it a bit easier. So I'm definitely going to try that trick next time, because I'm sure I'll do more projects with this construction in the future. So yep, Lyon sweater by Petite Knit. I think that's enough for this one. I really want in my wardrobe. That's why I've made so much progress on this. And I am using the Petite Knits method for to get joggler stripes. The pretty standard in the round version is just when you're you knit the first round normal, and then the very first stitch of the second round you slip the first stitch, and that just sort of lengthens that stitch a little bit, and it sort of smooths out the jog. But it's a little bit different when you've got these raglan increases, and Petite Knit does have a video on that, and it's pretty clear and easy to follow. So I just followed that method, and I don't even know which side that was. I think it's on this side. Actually, in saying that, one thing that I thought was quite odd is, I'm not sure why you would create the start of round here at the very visual part, like, so the jog, no matter what, is still here. I would have thought maybe make that the start of round on the back. You know, just, you know, if I was to do it again, I would do that. I would change that to be where I make my changes rather than here. I don't see why it has to be here rather than there. So anyway, that's it for this work in progress. I'm hoping that by my next video in 2 weeks, this will be done. My next work in progress is the CPO5 V-neck by Christina Ghirlanda, and I'm knitting that out of Cardiff Prime, which is a cashmere silk blend in the colorway Mose, and I'm holding it double. I don't think I've made any progress on this from last week, so I'm still at that same spot, but now that I've got a little bit more time, I think that's the next thing for this, is to do the neckline. So that will be my plan, and hopefully at least that, even though the Lyon sweater will probably get more attention, I'd at least like the neckline for this done. I do like it when I have a lot of projects on the needles, if everything sees it like rather than sort of, I'm really focusing on the Lyon one, but I don't want anything to sort of sit around for too long and not get any attention. So certainly I think this weekend, when I have a little bit of clear time, I'll be doing the neckline for this one, and then I'll feel able to move on and maybe do a sleeve next, I think, because I've definitely done enough in the body. So I think I'll do the neckline and then get started on a sleeve. So yes, there will definitely be some progress on this by the next video. Right, 3 more works in progress. This one is the Eva Cardigan by Petite Knit, and I'm knitting it out of Madeleine Tosh Alpaca Sport in the colorway Sea Glass. And it's top down, contiguous, same kind of construction as the Lyon sweater. And you can see that I haven't blocked it because it's got this kind of, you know, sort of thing happening here. I'm knitting the smallest size. The gauge on this is a little bit tighter, of 22 stitches instead of the pattern gauge of 20. So I can't remember that. I'm knitting the smaller size, and mine should come out about 10% smaller, which should still be about 7 inches of positive ease, because if you look at this here, and then I'm still also going to have quite a wide button band. So it's going to have plenty of positive ease. The button band's going to go all the way around the outside. It doesn't look like I should be started on the ribbing, but I have just done the first row of the ribbing. It feels like that's pretty, but the ribbing is meant to be about 3 inches. So, and then after that, I'll be picking up for the button band. Actually, maybe I'll do the sleeves next. I don't know. Order doesn't matter that much, I guess. Yeah, maybe sleeves. I'm not sure. I'll see what I feel. But at the moment, I've just done the first row of the ribbing, and yeah, this one's like, I want this one done too. I want all of them. I'm really excited about all my knits. The only one that I was really not very excited about was this Adamson vest, and I'm happy to have that off the needles just to have it out of the whip pile. Everything else I'm quite excited about, and looking forward to finishing and wearing. My next work in progress is the Jules Genser by Sandnes Garn, and I'm knitting it out of Knitting for Olive in the colorway Soft Silk Mohair, held single in the colorway Elderflower. And yeah, I've made quite a bit of progress on this. I have finished the body. It is so lovely and light and airy. I haven't blocked this either. So yeah, this one definitely needs a block. I'll probably block it when, like, I'm pretty sure this is about the kind of the right length that I would want it to be. And I don't expect it to grow too much. But I think with the sleeves, it's actually quite, I quite like this actually. The sleeves, you just knit straight down and then, you know, like knit 2 together, I think, to like halve the stitches for the cuff. So when it gets reasonably sort of like maybe to about here, maybe then I'll block the whole thing just to sort of see what the growth is like in the sleeve, and then finish it off. So I actually have put it on a long cable so that I can try it on, but you know, and show you on, but I can actually use a small fixed circular, even like a 40 centimeter one with reasonably short tips, to knit this around and around. I've still got to move the body around a little bit. It's not, you know, it's not as easy as knitting a hat in the round, but because it's so light, like this is my 3rd ball. So at the moment, this weighs like 50-ish grams. So very, very light. third ball. No, maybe I'm up to the fourth. I don't know. I can't remember. Maybe I'm on the fourth ball. Actually, no. I did have some of the third left over, and I started a new ball for the sleeve. So I can't remember how far I got into the third ball. I think I have a fair bit, actually. Maybe I have 10 grams of the third ball left. This is the fourth ball. So maybe this weighs about 60 grams, maybe 65 grams. And yeah, I've definitely got enough because I've got 5 balls. So that's not a worry. And because there won't be any decreasing down the sleeve until I get right to the cuff. And it's got a reasonably, I think the ribbing is meant to be about 2 3/4 inches, but I think maybe I only did about 2 1/4. Anyway, I felt like that was enough. And yeah, it's just such a, clanking. I'll just hang on to those while I show you. Really lovely, pretty lace design. So, yep. Anyway, that is my second last work in progress. My last work in progress is the Comfort Core socks by Summer Lee Designs, and I actually haven't made any progress on that at all, so I won't talk about that right now, but I am hoping to, it'd be nice to finish this sock by next podcast and at least get it off the needles. Moving on from my lengthy works in progress segment to acquisitions and plans, and there's actually quite a bit in here as well. I wanted to start with something that Donna, who's RandomKnits on Ravelry, sent me. She was watching last episode. I mentioned how I'm always losing stitch markers, and she asked if she could send me this. It's like a little cable, a locking cable that you can put your stitch markers on so that you don't lose them, because I'm always ferreting around in my bag to find them, and so it's really nice to be able to see clearly that yes, I do have some. So she sent me these in this lovely yellow colour to go with the yellow knit along that I'm doing at the moment. And I actually met Donna in person at the Australian Yarn Show in Canberra, and got to have a little bit of time with her and Ailsa, which was so lovely. I'd love to be able to see her more often in person. Anyway, so she is in Australia, and she sent these to me. I think from the day she sent them, they arrived the very next day. So what happens with this little cable? It's actually a very strong, sturdy cable. And you just unscrew it like that. I want to just be careful that I don't, I'm hanging on to it properly. So it unhooks like that, and she sent me, you can get these cables from her Etsy store, either just the cables themselves or with, a range of coloured stitch markers. So I've got these regular ones, and then the locking ones, and then a really pretty yellow flower. I love yellow. It's actually such a happy colour. Anyway, so I was so pleased to get that, because what that means for me is can actually put my stitch markers on here, and I can see. Sometimes I'm like, I think I've got some stitch markers in my bag, but I'm not sure, and it's not until I dump the whole thing out, and then I'm like, I've got 2 and I need 8. So here I can actually see they're actually on here and see how many I have. So yeah, and you can put a range of colours obviously as well, put your other stitch markers on there. So thank you so much, Donna. I love that. So I'll put a link below in the description to Donna's Etsy shop. So go over and take a look and see if there's any there that you like. They just sound nice too, very jingly and happy. So that's one acquisition and plan. Another acquisition was the Lyon sweater adult I purchased after I'd bought the junior, and realised that actually I wanted to compare the two directly, and I could sit there and count rows and everything in terms of how many rows do I think she did for this neckline versus that neckline. And I thought, you know what, I wouldn't mind both patterns so that I could knit it for, a range of sizes at some point anyway. So that was a purchase from me this week. What other things did I get? So many fun things to share. Hohi Locatelli was doing a bag. I watched her, I really enjoy watching her podcast. She had a new style of bag. It was this kind of almost like a toolkit bag. So yes, I ordered one, and it came very quickly actually. And it's got this little snake. If you're watching Hohi, you've already seen this on her podcast. And yeah, I love it. I actually, it's out of it at the moment because I tried it on, but I've got my Lyon sweater in there at the moment. So I've got 2 balls of the almond in here and 2 balls of the night sky in here, and just, the sweater in one of them. And yeah, I love it. It's got these little other pockets on the side. And so I got this, and there was also a messenger bag on the site, and I thought, that would be so nice for my husband. So I thought, well, if I'm getting, paying for the shipping and whatever and having it sent out here, I'll order that for him, and it will be ready for Father's Day. Now, Father's Day in Australia, I think in the US it's in June, but for us, June or July. Anyway, for us, it's in September. So I thought, I'm getting ahead of the game. I'm not doing it last minute. I'll order it. So I was fishing around to show it today, And I obviously hid it somewhere really, really clever so that my husband wouldn't find it, but so clever that I couldn't find it. So I'm really hoping that between now and September I find it. That would be great. But I would have liked to have been able to show it to you here. It's really, really nice, but I'll put a picture of it up there, and yes, fingers crossed I find it before September. I have done this before with other things that, you know, perhaps we wanted to take to America with us, and I'll put that away for when we go, and then like found it 18 months later. So yeah, I'm pretty good at hiding things and hiding them from myself as well. So fingers crossed though I do find it. But anyway, I'm really happy with that bag for myself, and I'm hoping that my husband likes his messenger bag if and when he gets it. I have quite a few more acquisitions to share. Quite a bit has come in this week, so hopefully you'll indulge me. This next one I'm so excited about. I mentioned last podcast, I think it was last one, about white gum wool and Nan's farm down in Tasmania and how lovely and soft the yarn is. And I have these plans to make a commercial sweater, so like a purchased sort of that looks like a hand knit sweater but is probably machine knit. And it's quite an expensive one, and I would like to make my own version of it. And I think that the white gum wool 10 ply merino wool would be a really good kind of sort of mimic the same kind of look with really nice stitch definition. And I'm actually going to do a video. I won't get into it now because it needs its own video, I think, but I want to at least show you the yarn that I got for it. And yeah, I'll do that video next Thursday. So I'll do a regular podcast in 2 weeks, but I'll do a video next Thursday about my plans. Look at this. Look at this cone. Isn't this ginormous? This is a cone of the natural. So it's sort of a cream color. It's not white. I should probably, actually, I'll just hold the almond next to it so you can see. So that's almond. It looks kind of white, but it's not white. If I had some, actually I do have some white later, I'll show it up against some white. So anyway, it's this lovely cream, but it's a very light cream. Yes, so this is the yarn that I'm going to use to make this sweater. I think it's going to have to be, when I look at the sweater, it looks like it's sort of, the way it's constructed is bottom up. Like it's not hand knit, but you can see what looks like decreases going up the sweater rather than increases coming down. So I did a swatch. Oh my goodness, this yarn is so nice to work with. I want to show you the stitch definition too. So it's 190 meters. So I purchased this. This is like not sponsored. I bought this. I bought this myself, and yeah, it came really quickly from Tasmania. It took less than a week to come. So this has been blocked, but it actually looked almost as nice unblocked as blocked. Look at that, sorry, that beautiful stitch definition. And oh, if you could feel it, it's so lovely and squishy and soft. It's gonna make a perfect, cozy, oversized sweater. It's gonna be so good. Anyway, more on that next week. But I'm getting 19 stitches over 4 inches, which I think is a pretty good gauge for the sweater that I want. You know, not too bulky, but not fine weight. And yeah, it's going to be mostly stockinette, so it's going to be fairly plain, but with some really nice shaping features. So yeah, very, very excited about that. So that is one acquisition that that came, and yeah, I highly recommend if you haven't tried white gum wool. Yeah, if you can get your hands on some. I think there are other, like they sell it in a number of colorways there at White Gum Wool, but also other people dye it up. So I think August Bird and Nunabar Yarns, I don't know if they're still dyeing at the moment, but when I look on Ravelry, I think they have, sourced this yarn and then hand dyed it. So if you're looking for a hand dyed version, or there are quite a few colorways at White Gum Wool as well. So that's one big acquisition. Okay, my last acquisitions, this is one of the reasons this is such a big segment, is my order from Yarniecopia arrived from Cardiff Cashmere. So I did decide to go for some of the Cardiff Cashmere Classic, and I didn't give any hints as to, I can't remember, maybe I did give some hints as to what I was going to go for, but super, super excited. This is the Touch colorway, which is 303. And I got a box of that. Look at those beautiful little flecks. So, yep, I think this might be either the April cardigan, and the gauge is going to be a little bit tighter. The gauge on this I usually get around 23 stitches, and the April cardigan's 21, so I might just need to knit a slightly larger size. So either the April cardigan, because it's quite fitted and elegant, has a nice V-neck, or the Maggie cardigan. The only thing about the Maggie cardigan is the neckline comes all the way up here, and it's short sleeve, so I'd obviously have to, well, not obviously, I'd prefer to make it long sleeve. I think this would make a really lovely long sleeve cardigan, but I have a feeling, I don't know, I haven't quite decided yet. Either Maggie cardigan, it is a really elegant cardigan, but I sort of see that being done up. Think of the buttons that I could pick, oh my gosh, that could be so fun. Like I could go really neutral and go for the grey, but I could also pick a really lovely, a lovely bright button as well. So I got that. The other, I got one more box of the classic. This was a full, you know, it was May was my birth month, so it was a big treat to myself. Is in the colorway Cocoa. So I don't really have, it's just a lovely classic brown, and I don't really have just a nice classic brown sweater. And I was thinking I might make the poppy tee, but a sweater version of it, and maybe make a size larger. I do have to make sure that 10 balls is enough, so I do have to be a little bit careful. So I actually have 7 balls of this in the black that I bought ages ago to make the poppy tee. So I think what I might do is make that first. And in fact, I'd really like that in my wardrobe right now, because that is actually a really wearable, like a black, nice tee, very wearable. And then that will give me a good estimate of how much yarn for that particular size, and you know, whether really I can even size up or not. So anyway, that's the Cocoa colorway, and it's just a lovely classic chocolate brown. So that, and that was it for the order. But then when I got the yarn from, I was getting the yarn from Nan, and I knew I was going to get the whole cone because I wanted to make sure I had plenty of yarn to make this really oversized sweater, but I knew I'd have quite a bit left over. This is so lovely and soft. So I thought what I might do is get some of the Prime, and Erica and I split a box of the Prime. So she got, because she has to order in lots of 10. So I got 6 of these. That's in the colorway Neve. That's the Cardiff Prime. I got 6 of those, and Erica got 4. So we split the box, and you know, each paid for our own individually. And so see how that's white, see how that's much more of a cream, but I do think that that'll obviously go nicely enough together, but you can see that this is more a cream and this is more of like a closer to a white, but I think that would be lovely. And I actually, even from my woolen berries, I have one and a bit balls of the Cardiff Classic in the Neve left over, so I could actually even like make a little mini scarf or something with those together as well. But I think like maybe I could make a shawl or something with what's left over. I'm not sure. This is a kilo, so that's 1,900 meters. I'm not sure how much of it I'm going to need for the sweater, because it's going to be pretty oversized, like maybe about 12 to 14 inches of positive ease. So that's why I got the cone, because I was like, I just don't want to run out. I really want to be free to, and it feels like real play. Like anyway, I'll get into my personal stuff later, but I've had some big things that I had to do ticked off the boxes, and I've got school holidays coming up. So yeah, I just feel like this is going to be a really nice, fun plan. Like, you want your knitting to be fun, right? This isn't my job, this is my fun, and I really enjoy it. So yes, so anyway, that's my acquisitions from the from Cardiff Cashmere, and they are purchased by me. And I should mention actually, maybe that will be, this is my last, gosh, yarn everywhere. My last acquisition, this is actually yarn for Yarniecopia's next spotlighted yarn brand, which is Bichet Bush. So Erica actually is supplying the yarn for this, so she has purchased this herself and sent it to me, and so it's sponsored in, I guess this segment is sponsored by Yarniecopia, and this is so it's Bichet Bush, and this is the yarn that I am going to be working with, and it is Le Cashmere and Lamb's Wool. Oh, look at that, it's this gorgeous. I'm so into the dirty greens. This the Le Cashmere and Lamb's Wool doesn't have as many colorways as say the Le Petite Lamb's Wool or the Le Gros Lamb's Wool. There's more colorways in that, but I actually I love, this is what I would have chosen anyway. I love this gorgeous green. So this is, I'm going to hold this double. So this is a fingering weight yarn 12.5% cashmere, 87.5% lamb's wool, and it is 248 meters for 50 grams. So this I think will make held double, make a really lovely Oslo hat. I thought about making the 2x2 hat out of it, but I actually think this would be nicer as an Oslo hat. So I have, so I'll just talk about the Yarniecopia's promotion, like their sale of it this year. This is going to be in the month of July, but it's going to be a shorter window. The opening date will be the 14th of July, which is Bastille Day, and then the closing date is the 27th of July. So it's only going to be a 2-week window, but all of the different colorways and yarn bases for Biche Bush will be available. So yeah, so I'm really excited to try this this particular base. I haven't tried this one before. I have used this yarn before for Snowbloom by Jennifer Steingass, and I haven't really talked much about that here on the podcast because it was a test knit 6 months ago and then it hasn't been released. So I'm suspecting that Jennifer's had some health problems, and I don't want to surmise anything, but if you sort of do a test knit and then it doesn't get released and then there's sort of not a lot of, and she's had periods off, I'm guessing that she's not really well enough to push the whole, when you imagine when you release a pattern, there's a whole promotion period and making sure, it's pattern support, making sure everything's right. So it hasn't been released. So I don't really want to talk about the sweater or the top itself because the pattern hasn't been released, but I would like to talk about my experience with working with the yarn because it is Biche Bush and it's the Le Petite lamb's wool, and it's really nice yarn. I thought the gauge, I was never going to get the gauge with that yarn. Like, I think the gauge was like 22 stitches over 4 inches, and I thought, this yarn is so thin, how is that possible? But when you block it, it blooms up beautifully, and it is such good yarn for color work. So I haven't tried this yarn before, and I'm obviously only but I imagine it's probably going to be quite similar. It's woolen spun, so it's very lofty, and so it's got a bit of grippiness, which is good for color work, but it's not itchy at all. So yeah, I really enjoyed working with that yarn. I still have some left over actually. I have like at least one of the grey and a couple of the turquoise. So I can't really talk about the pattern, but I can definitely say I really like the yarn. And I've actually also made a hat out of the Le Gros lamb's wool, and I have a sweater quantity in the pink in the Le Gros lamb's wool. I just haven't figured out a pattern for it, and I think I get about a 19 stitch gauge, so I have to think about what I want to make with that. But yeah, I really like the yarn, and I'm really excited to try working with this. So it's not going to be available for a little bit. What's it now? The 12th of June. So in about a month, the yarn will be all available to purchase, but there'll only be a 2-week window. So again, that's the link. There'll be a link to Yarniecopia in the description below. That's not an affiliate link. I don't make any money out of the sale of like any purchases through Yarniecopia, but this yarn was gifted to me by Erica. So yes, thank you, Erica, and I'm really excited to be trying it. And the other thing is actually Erica threw in like a little, she's obviously got some like, what do you call it? Branded merchandise now. She's got like a lovely little, well, it's not little, it's a nice big project bag. So that will be actually, yeah, I have to think about what I'm gonna, which of my projects is gonna live in this bag. So yes. Anyway, keep your eye out for, if you're not already, I think you can like sign up for the newsletter of Yarniecopia, and then Erica will send you an email when it's available for pre-order. But anyway, it's really nice to see that a new business is going well. So hopefully that's, yeah, and there'll be more brands and different kinds of yarn available for us out here in Australia and New Zealand, where it's, just a bit harder for us to get hold of. So moving on to the rest of my plans, I've already talked about a few with some of those earlier acquisitions, with the white gum wool doing the big oversized sweater, which I'll talk about next week, and also an Oslo hat out of the Biche Bush Le Cashmere and lamb's wool. So that's upcoming, plus all of the other things that are already on my needles. And a Milady's dress is upcoming, yes, plus all of my works in progress. But the other thing that, this is from yarn that I already received from Unravelled. This is the, I haven't actually started this, but I have done some swatching. This is the Biche Bush, same yarn, sweater number 67. That's the pattern by Astrid Troland. And I'm using the yarn in the kit that Unravelled sent me, which is Uno. And I have swatched. So, I guess that all counts as progress. It's not really a work in progress until the actual sweater's on the needles, but you got to swatch. So that's pre-planning that's planning progress, pre-knitting. Anyway, doesn't matter. I knit. I knit 2 swatches. It's meant to be knit on a 5.5mm needle with I think it was a 17 stitch gauge, but I'm not getting gauge. I actually thought maybe a 5mm needle would be better, but then I think I definitely didn't get gauge with that. I think I got something like 20 stitches. Then on the actual 5.5mm, maybe that was this one, maybe the 5.5mm needle, I got 19 stitches, so I'm still not getting gauge. So I'll have to think about whether I go up to, I'll just show you the swatch. That's on the 5.5mm needle. So it's lovely and soft and squishy. It's going to be a really nice, a nice oversized sweater. So I do just, and it's also got this pink in it. Where's the pink? Oh, there's the pink. So that's going to be the grey and the pink. That's going to be the trim, which you can't see. It's not as strong a contrast in this sweater. So can you see it there? Just the... You really almost can't see it there. There's a little bit of brown at the trim and a little bit of brown at the cuff, the sleeve cuff as well. So I won't use much of this pink. Anyway, so this is another upcoming plan, the sweater number 67. This will make a really, because I'm actually, well, I'll get into that in plans, but I'm going to Bendigo. So, and it's even colder down there than it is here. So yes, this is something that I would like to be on and off the needle sooner rather than later. So that's another upcoming plan. But you know, whenever you don't quite get gauge, you have to have a think about it and say, am I going to go ahead with the gauge that I'm getting and then make a different size, or am I going to go up a needle size and try for a different gauge? So that's my, got to put on my thinking cap, have a look at the, yeah, this is, hang on, I'm just going to get the right swatch. This one was the 5mm. You probably can't tell much of a difference. That's the 5mm. It's a little bit more dense. This one's the 5.5. It's a little bit, I wouldn't call it open, right? But it's certainly, I reckon I could go up a needle size to a 6mm. Maybe I've got that the other way around. They're very similar. Yeah, this one's the 5.5mm. Yeah, look, you can't even tell. I suppose by feeling it, this one feels a little bit denser. So I'm not sure. I might just stick with the 5. The 5.5 is what they recommend, and maybe it does stretch out a bit. So, you know, sometimes it's so hard with a swatch. You knit a swatch and you think, oh, is it going to stay the same? And it may actually increase anyway once you're knitting over the whole garment. So it does have a fair bit of ease built in. I just don't want it to be then to knit like the size, you know, let's say 5 inches of positive ease and then it ends up no ease. That's not the look I'm going for in this sweater. I definitely want the kind of oversized look for it. So I may need to go more like 10 inches of positive ease, and then if it ends up 6, I'll be all right with that. Anyway, I do need to figure out, am I going to try, I suppose I could always try a swatch on a 6mm needle just to see if I like it and to see what kind of gauge I get. These did not take very long to do, so, and it's worth it for the investment. But what it does do, it sort of slows me down. It's just one more thing to do before actually casting on. But that is another upcoming plan. That's the only other upcoming plan for my knitting that's kind of in my brain, like right on the edge of my brain, ready to come out. I'm sure there's more further in there. The other sort of plan of activities, though, I wanted to mention is it's Worldwide Knit in Public Day on Saturday. So my knit group, so like my local Knitters Guild, are doing a train journey. So I'm going to be doing that. I haven't looked into all of the details. I'm pretty sure I just have to be at one of our local train stations, but I need to check on the time, and we're just going to go hang out. I don't even know where we're going. I'm a follower. So yes, we'll see. So I have to think about what I'm going to take with me. I think maybe the Jules Genser would be a really good sweater to take with me because it's so light, and and also I'm just on the sleeve and there's not even decreases, right? I'm literally just going round and round and round. But of course I'll take a second project. Maybe the Oslo hat. Maybe if I get that cast on, that would be quite a good, and I just finished a hat. So hats are always good, and the Oslo hats are great because especially in the beginning, you've got to knit like about 7 inches, but I just got to get it on the needles. I need to do like my provisional cast on and get it on the needles, and then away I go. So would I take a third? That would be really silly, wouldn't it? Yeah, I tend to load myself down and then I get kind of annoyed that I have so many bags and things. So especially if I'm going to be on a train and moving around, maybe just the Jules Genser and the Oslo hat, and that would be enough. Anyway, so exciting. That's, I guess that's definitely it for like all of the knitting content. for the episode. So if you're leaving me now, thank you so much for being here. And yeah, I'm back to my sort of normal recording schedule of every 2 weeks. And then I'll put something in on the alternate week of something that's of interest, which next week will be the white gum wool sweater, and like the commercial. When I say commercial, I mean something that you could purchase from an online store that I'm trying to copy. Dupe, I think dupe is the word. And I don't think that's, like, I would never buy this myself, and I'm going to come up with sort of some combinations that sort of match the shaping. I think that's perfect. I'm not going to try and sell it or anything. This is just for myself. So yeah, anyway, that's it for the knitting content. I'll be back for a normal episode in 2 weeks. So if you're leaving me now, thanks for being here. And yeah, I'll see you either next week for that special episode or one of these regular ones in 2 weeks. Right, moving on to a quick personal stuff segment. I had a really big work presentation on Tuesday night, just gone. And yeah, I'm so glad that that's done. I do enjoy doing it, but it's also really exhausting, and it's quite exhausting for me leading up to it. I only do it once a year, and so as a result, I sort of have to, and I think anytime you're presenting to your peers, it can be, I don't know, I overthink it, and I probably like spend way too long preparing, but you know, I am an over preparer. I like to be sort of all over it. And, you know, I'm also on Zoom for 2.5 hours talking pretty much non-stop. So I have to kind of be like, you know, even like when I teach knitting at the yarn shop, I've got a schedule. I've got to be here by this time. I've got to be here by this time. I've got to be here by this time to make sure I get through the content. So that's just part of teaching, right? So, but it does feel a bit different, especially doing it over Zoom to 20 other teachers. And, you know, everybody's got cameras off. And so I'm not always getting, like, I don't get feedback to know, is everyone... like, is this going? I mean, I guess that's what this is too, right? I don't see you smiling at me or rolling your eyes. It's probably a good thing I don't see you rolling your eyes at me. Anyway, it was good. It's done, and I'm so happy. I've got 3 weeks of school left in the term, and then I have 3 weeks of holidays, which is awesome. Private schools get an extra week, but in that first week, I'm going to be doing some revision. Like, this is an extra paid thing with my work. I'm going to be doing a revision week where I'm teaching to the year 12s some content leading up to their final exams, and that I love. Like, that's it's not even 9 to 5. I think it's like 8 to 5, 5 days. But with all kids that are like, you know, really want to do well. And so I'll do like a lecture for an hour each day and then just tutor and help for the rest of the day. And yeah, and then also I'm going to be sitting in on the extension 2. There's another teacher from another school who's doing the extension 2 one that I'm really interested to see myself. So anyway, that's all math nerdy of me. I love that part of my job as well. So I'm excited about that. And my friend Amy is teaching physics. So she'll be doing the physics. I'll be doing one of the maths streams, and like my son's coming and Amy's daughters are coming. So yeah, so it's lovely. Like, I know it's study, which may sound not very exciting, but when you get all these kids together studying, the vibe there is very encouraging and positive, and yeah, it's just great. Anyway, so that's 3 weeks of school, 1 week of that, and then I have 2 weeks of holidays, and I'm going to Bendigo with my friend Beck. So there'll definitely be some video footage from in Bendigo, and I might even get some from Worldwide Knit in Public on Saturday if people are okay with that. I'll see if I can get some of that and incorporate that into maybe another little individual video just on that. We'll see. I don't know. Yes, but definitely Bendigo for sure. I'm going down for 4 days. It's about a 2-hour train trip out of Melbourne. So this time I'm going to flying down myself, meeting Beck, and she's so good. She's organised the accommodation. I'm so bad at organising this sort of stuff, like even booking a flight. It's not like I can't do it. It's not my skill set. Anyway, I'm very grateful that Beck has already organised that. And we're going to go to, that was the other thing too. We're going to go to Rhinebeck. This is ages away, but we're going to go to Rhinebeck, not this year, because that's like my son's major exams right before that. We're going to go to Rhinebeck next year. So, and I guess that's not too far to, like, well, we've been planning this for about 2 years already, right? So, but yeah, look, if you've ever been to Rhinebeck, I'm sure there are people here who've either been to Rhinebeck, and I'd love to hear, you know, I know that's not tomorrow, but like places to stay, things to do. I know it can change from year to year, but it'd be nice to know like things to think about. So if you have any tips for Rhinebeck, if you could drop them in the comments or send me a message, I'd really appreciate that, because we're both really excited about that. But in the meantime, we've got Bendigo to look forward to. So yeah, that's really lovely. Anyway, I'm sure, I can't even imagine how long this is. It's really nice to be back. That's the last little thing I'll say before I go. So I just wanted to say thank you to everyone for their encouragement and support of my Me Made May challenge of doing a video each day. I almost did one every day, like, you know, 90%, that's not too bad. And there was one day I missed completely, and I feel all right about that. And 2 days where I just did like a post on YouTube because I wasn't feeling great. But yeah, it was really fun. And yeah, so thanks for your encouragement. I totally get it if that's not your thing. Like, you know, daily vlogs can be, you know, like, you got to live your own life, right? So if your life is busy and that's just not something you have time for, I totally understand. But for those of you who had time to watch and were able to, and commented and wrote really lovely messages, I just want to say thank you so much. Thanks for being here. Yeah, I don't think I'll be able to do one next year because I'll be overseas. That's my plan. Like, I'll be in Europe in April and May next year. But yeah, maybe the year after, we'll see. You know, it's probably good for me to have a year off from that anyway. But in the meantime, back to normal life. You should see this pile of, I have to tidy up here now. And of course, whenever you have like a big presentation or something big to do, I've got my to-do list of all of these things to do after the presentation is a mile long. So yes, I've got to, but in the meantime, actually, what is it? It's 3 o'clock. I'm going to go spend a little bit of time with my daughter, Alex, help her cast on her Chrysler top. So yeah, I don't know what needles she'll use. She might, I don't know. She hasn't knit in quite a while, actually. So that's going to be interesting. Actually, she might even have to knit a swatch. Maybe I'll just help her and encourage her to knit a swatch. Anyway, I better go. I will be back next week with what I'm going to do with the white gum wool. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you then.